What I'll also do is parallelly open a tab of LinkedIn and see how it is. Yes, I think it's another minute or so we can get started.
Sure.
Awesome. Cool. Great. Yeah, it's 8 p.m. Ishan, so I think let's get started. Firstly, welcome to the Factors.ai LinkedIn Live. Very,
Thank you so
very
much.
happy to have you here. I mean, we generally host thinkers, but most importantly, operators and executors in the B2B marketing landscape, right
Yep.
from CXOs, founders to marketing agency people. And marketing agency people are the favorite lot for me because one, they bring in the knowledge accumulated over multiple companies, and it's not generally we get into the tunnel vision where like we are generally in working in one company, one product, one
That's right.
set of positioning and how we get there. But marketing agency folks and people who run marketing agency folks, since they have worked with multiple companies across multiple stages and across positioning, they'd be able to see the patterns much better, and they also
That's right.
understand the trends also much better. So very happy to have you here.
It's a pleasure.
Everyone, we have Ishan Manchanda, the young and amazing founder at Growth Spree. Ishan, over to you. Please introduce yourself, and also let's get started on how to start with
Awesome.
Google search ads for startups.
Awesome. So my name is Ishan Manchanda, as Shri mentioned, and thank you so much, Shri, for having me. Shri is one of the most down to earth founders that I've come across, and it is always a pleasure to converse with him and get any kind of guidance and feedback from him. Right. So I am a co-founder of Growth Spree. Growth Spree is a B2B SaaS marketing agency. We've been in business for the last 2 years. We are based out of NCR region. Um, uh, um, we have worked with about, I think, 60 odd SaaS companies so far, including names like Rocket Lane, Topline, Last Nine, Possessed, Hasura, all of these, right? So Shri, you rightly mentioned. I think though obviously people expect me to be biased about agencies, but I think there is a clear logic behind why we would have much more clarity with respect to how generally patterns show up, and the reason is because when you're working with only one product, whatever is working out for you and not working out for you does not hold true for any other product or any other company, right? There is no playbook to marketing, is what I feel and I believe in. It is all about experimentation and bringing to this live session that we have, Google search ads, right? So as you mentioned, clearly mentioned in the post as well, like Google ads or ads in general seem to be very expensive, right? And there is always a sense of holding back within founders in the SaaS ecosystem, specifically if I talk about, right, with respect to ads, right, which is fair, right? I don't blame them, right? If I was in their shoes, I would have that same kind of hesitance towards ads because it requires me to spend a lot of money, right? But at the same time, if you look at it, ads, there is you cannot grow through one specific channel, right? So obviously you will need multiple, a 360-degree kind of efforts, and where ads play a very, very important role. Like in, if you look at any big SaaS company which has proved their marketing efforts, you will see that search engine, or in general ads, is one of their very productive and efficient growth channel, right? Uh, and once you start seeing traction coming from ads, that the return on investment, the ROI concept that is most talked about, then you have no problem investing money in ads, right? One,
Got it.
yeah,
Yeah. Just to
um,
take a step back,
yeah,
I mean, we have seen a host of startups, especially after 2020, specifically in B2B SaaS, coming in a lot. Most of the time, it will be like founders, they start raising a seed fund immediately, or they work with initial prototypes and early design partners to start building their kind of the thing. When should we start thinking about starting with Google Ads? For example, when you have the product, or when you have some set of design partners, when you have certain set of, let's say, after you do the product hunt launch, what is the milestone time when you really start looking at Google search ads as a startup founder?
right. We're going to obviously stick to Google search ads because that's the topic of the live session. But in general, also ads, specifically again Google search ads, I feel, and what I've seen, should only be started when you have what you call as the product market fit. When you have 15, 20 paid customers that come back and tell you that yes, the promise that you made about solving X problem has been solved in the same fashion that you promised, right? And they're happy, and whatever you proposed has made their life easier. When you've reached
Got
that stage, I think that is the perfect moment to start investing in Google search ads, because in general also ads is a channel where for scale, right? It is, if you talk about my belief, I don't think it is a good way or approach to spend money to get insights and keep on iterating your product till you hit that product market fit. I think the best moment to start off is when you hit that product market fit. And so yeah, so to answer your question, I
No,
think
no, that's
yeah,
interesting, because a lot of
yeah,
times what gets thrown around also as advice and also as practices, like, just see whether you have even demand for what you want to share as a
right,
product. Run Google
agreed,
Ads with this thing to see what is the kind of demand. Are people actually coming to your website? Are people actually clicking on your ads? Or people actually even signing up for a demo if this is your kind of a proposition, etc., gets thrown around.
absolutely.
But would you agree with that, or would you say that no, don't spend on ads, get the first 20
Um,
customers from a founder led sales, and then start working on Google Ads?
my belief system is pro for getting those founder driven sales, first 20 customers, but at the same point, see, it is about the money, right? End of the day, when it comes to ads, it is about the money. So if you are at a stage where you have some amount to invest because something else is not working out specifically, right? And you have some amount to invest, then there is nothing like Google search ads, right? The kind of insights that you can drive out of campaigns through Google search and getting that traffic on your website and then building that intelligence on the website does also assist your founder driven sales, right? So if you
Got it.
have, and I'm not talking about massive amounts of money, right? If we consider there are different types of startups and different phases of their journey. If you're very very early stage, then you can probably keep this idea aside for a few months, and you can try it out later. But if you have some money coming in, probably from the first 3 4 customers that you have, some cash flow coming in, or if you've raised some decent amount of funding, specifically, then definitely, like, do not shy away from ads. Like, there is nothing better than Google search, because it's probably the only channel where you target the intent. It's not a
Got
it's not a there are and every other channel targets demographics, targets probably things like a job title or industries or things like that, right? But targeting an intent, that is only possible in Google search, right? So that is where, which makes it like a gold mine, right? So if you have that decent amount of money, and I'm talking about, as you mentioned, like, as an agency I should be giving more detailed insight. So if you're talking about a US market, to trying out US market, you can spend $2,000-$3,000 only in per month in Google search ads, along with your founder driven sales, which is probably happening through an cold outreach. There is no better combination than this.
Got it. So that's great. I mean, it's good to get into the weeds as well. That's like, if I am a founder, if I have, let's say, the first 10 customers or maybe 15 customers where I'm targeting a certain market, I know who are the kind of ideal customer profiles we are there. I know who's my competitor. I know what is my value prop.
Yeah.
Then I start spending on Google
Absolutely.
search ads. I have to start with
Absolutely.
$2,000 to $3,000 on a monthly basis. Now,
Yeah.
getting a little more deeper. So I
Yeah.
know I'm going to allocate my budget. I know I have my first 10 customers. What are the things to start on? So, for example, there'll be creators, there'll be landing pages, there'll be kind of like ad copies work, there'll be kind
Sure.
of which kind of keywords to bid on, what kind of
Yeah.
keywords can get the immediate source of this thing, what is the
Right.
time period for me to wait, what are the other instrumentation which we need to have in place apart from website and a Google Ads account. If we can get into that, that will also be helpful.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, if you look at it, the first obvious step is to figure out the keywords, right?
Mm,
And if you ask me, for me, Google search is all about bottom of the funnel campaigns, right? Of
mm,
course, it can be utilized. I'm going to give a personal opinion as well and try to talk about the entire broader spectrum as well, right? For me,
mm,
Google Ads is about bottom of the funnel keywords, right? Highest intent, because this is the only channel that can give you sales, right?
mm.
And you can expect the funnel to flow very quickly, right? So first, figuring out the keywords, right? So if there is demand with respect to high intent keywords, go for it, right? If at all there isn't, right, and you see a lot of top of the funnel keywords probably that exist, right? Utilize that, right? So that is there. Then of course, landing pages, ad copies is the second. Like if I go funnel by funnel, you have your keywords, then probably you'll spend money, you'll get some impressions, you'll get some clicks. Now, how to get those clicks and how to get more clicks out of less impressions? That's CTR, the click through rate that we talk about, or the engagement rate as Google Ads calls it now, is based on the ad copies, right? So ad copies, there needs to be experimentation. Of course, you have a certain level of clarity with respect to the value proposition that you have and how you want to propose it, how you the messaging should work. But at that, like, having that is good. That reduces the number of experiments that otherwise you would have done. But now, even till this stage, you need to do experimentation with the ad copies. Now, the ad copies need to be completely aligned with the keywords, right? When you start off, then definitely you can be a little broad, right? And when I
Mm,
say broad, I don't mean the broad match keywords, right? That
mm.
is like the worst thing to probably do in Google search ads. Put up keywords in broad match. When I say broad, I basically mean that you can start off with collective one group of keywords together in an ad group, right? And prepare relevant ad copies that align exactly with their intent of that group, right? So that is very important, and have multiple copies for each group and have different copies for each group, right? So that
Got
is
it.
very important. Now, that's step one, right? You get the clicks. Once you get the clicks, next is visits, right? So there is always a small drop in the clicks to visit, right? That ratio will
Mm,
always see a drop. If there's a significant drop that you're seeing, which is something that you can probably use a Google Analytics, which is free of cost, and see the number of visits you're getting from your Google search campaigns. If you see a significant drop, then there is some issue with your website, right? There is some
got it.
technical glitch that exists with your website, and you fix that, right? You've got the visits, right? Now what? Now it's all about the landing page, and landing pages probably is, when you talk about marketing, even in general, I think landing pages is the most important asset that you have, right?
Got it.
It is, and I like to use this analogy. It's like an offline store, right?
Mm,
And what we need to understand is, when a customer comes into your offline store, your pitch not necessarily has to be the same, right? Once you say something, you get a response. Based on that, you try to alter your pitch. That's what landing pages also should do, right? You cannot stick to one landing page for one campaign, or a single landing page in general landing page, or a home page, for example, that I've seen many people use, right? It will not work out, right? Because the audience is very different, right? The intent of each of the groups that you've built is different, right? And you need to make sure that that intent, along with the messaging on the ads, is completely aligned with what happens on the landing page, right?
got it.
And now on the landing page, right, of course, with how SaaS has grown, tools like factors have come into picture, right? Which has become very, very important. And I'm not saying just because I am on a live session with you on factors, it has become very important, and I can't deny that. And um, uh, for us also, when we work with a client for performance marketing, factors.ai makes a very important part of the entire stack that we use. And you need that, because you cannot expect a very large number of conversions with respect to leads happening whenever you start a campaign or whenever you're running a campaign. It will not go more than, in a very ideal scenario, 5%, probably 10%, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
still, you're losing out on 90% of the traffic.
Of
That is where
clicks of
factors comes
people
in.
who have
Of,
actually
of
shown intent and come into your website.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And that is where this intelligence needs to be captured, right? for a very long time we had nothing, right? We only had Google Analytics, and we could only identify users in general, right? Now with tools like Factor specifically, which is also one great thing, especially for Indian SaaS, and obviously for, I think for globally, is that it is also cost effective, right? You're not spending a huge amount of money to build this intelligence, which is priceless.
Got it. Just to
Please.
go a little step back, one is
Sure.
like setting up campaigns, getting clicks, competitor keywords. Because if I am anyways
Yeah.
going to start, it's better to go with competitor keywords because those are the ones which will have the highest, at least there'll be a
Absolutely.
click volumes, there'll be users coming in, there'll also be high intent keywords. For US as
Absolutely.
a geography, given that almost all
Yeah.
Indian SaaS companies target US
Want to sell
market,
there.
what are the kind
Yeah.
of CPCs we need to be prepared for?
CPCs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cost per
So
clicks or
see,
CPCs. Yeah.
See, it varies. Of course, it varies industry to industry. But yeah, bare minimum you're looking at $10, $12 per click. That's probably on the lower side of things that you
So
will see.
if you are doing spending $2,500, let's say even $3,000, I mean, at the minimum, you're looking at something around like 250 clicks
Yeah.
per month. If you're going to get 250 clicks, let's say there is a drop off, 20% drop off. I'm just putting a number.
Yeah. Yeah.
200 visitors, high intent visitors on your website.
Exactly. Yeah.
And from these 200 visitors, which come into your ad copy, landing page, etc., which means you would then, what would be the kind of bounce rates from there? Or is it something like, do people spend time? If you can share some metrics and other thing on that.
So, with respect to bounce rate has become a very kind of a vague metric now. It's not something that you really need to focus on. Very honestly, right? Um, with respect to spending time again, so either look at time spent and bounce rate together, right? Or just don't look at both the things. But obviously, time spent is important because at a granular level, it will give you an idea of how people are engaging, right? Then there is scroll depth as well, right? And so that
Got it.
you can figure out where the drop is happening. Can I change certain aspects of the landing page to improve this engagement rate in general, right?
Got
Generally
it.
the bounce rate is something that you should be okay with. The bounce rate should not be more than 25-30%, right? If in an ideal scenario, right, it should be somewhere
Got
around 25-30%. It could be more, but you don't really have to just start inferring that this is junk traffic that is coming in. It is not, right?
Got
There
it.
are possible places that you can fix in order to improve these kind of metrics.
Got it. So you look at companies, let's say you have 200 clicks, 200 visitors in your website. Bounce rate as this thing is a secondary metric, rather look at engagement and other this thing.
Yeah.
And from these 200 clicks, what would be the kind of conversion rates? 5%, 3%, 10%? What is
So
that something you should see?
yeah, so generally it is somewhere between 2%, 2.5%. Very honestly, right?
2.5%.
Yeah, this
In
is
ads,
generally that you
even in high
in
intent
ads.
ads.
In
In
a high
ads.
intent ads, the 2
In
and a
a
half
high
percent is all that you can expect. This is when I'm saying that you run a campaign and people come on your website as you was describing, and you measure just this part of the journey, right? There is
just
much more that you can do with the traffic. Yeah.
got it. So that's like 10 demos or 5 to 10 demos. So you have 200 high intent visitors. You have 10 demos, and that's where you also brought in factors.ai where to identify which are the other
Exactly.
190 visitors, which companies they come from, etc.,
That's
and
right.
then look at it. Now, this is at one level. What do you do after this? What is the next step?
Right. Right, right. So again, this is one of the reasons why factors has become important, right? Because end of the day, it is not really possible to achieve very high conversion rates on the landing page, right? That you capture majority of the traffic that is coming in. When this comes in, when we get this kind of intelligence from factors, for example, this is one passed on to the outbound team, the sales team, right? This intelligence, and of course, with not just we are not just able to identify the accounts, we are also able to map their journey on the website, right? What intent are they showing on the landing page, right? And which can be this can be utilized and this intelligence can be passed on to the sales team. That is step one. Second is you keep building your remarketing audience. That is very important, right?
Okay.
As you so you create your remarketing audience, and that's why I said only on the 2.5% is just this part of journey. You can capture much more by make sure that you are able to reach out to them. So remarketing is the second step to do so. Thirdly, right, the drop offs can also happen in the way where you have a probably a good large form, right? This is just one use case I'm picking up, right? And people are not filling the entire form. Then you use something like a step form, right? You can use something like a
Okay. Can you give an example of a step form?
so
Can you
step
give an
form is
example of
basically
a?
Yeah, so a step form basically would be where every field data filled in every field is captured and stored in the backend, right? So it is not necessary for the user to fill up the entire form for you to get that information, right? So that is step form, so that helps. And wherever you lose out the user, you can use something like a mail modo, which has AMP kind of emails where these kind of forms can be embedded, and you reach out to them and get the other bits of information which is important for your sales team, right? So when they get on a call, they need to have, that's why you have a large form, right? Mostly,
Got
right?
it.
So
So
this is how I recommend.
just to take a step back, you spend on ads, you allocate a budget of $2,500 to
Yep.
$3,000. You get clicks, you have website, you have Google Analytics to just look at drop offs and other thing. Factors.a to identify which companies are visiting, whether you're targeting the right companies, then you have to reach out. Then you mentioned
Yep.
mail modo, where like on the form fill, where you miss out on all these forms and then build on that. Lastly, what other instrumentation in terms of tools? Is there any other tools? Like, do we have to have a CRM before starting on this thing? Do we have
Absolutely.
to have any other scheduler kind of a system, or that might be a little more later down the line? And even within this, are there any other Apollo kind of tools which we need to step back? Can you share insights around it, and also even the
Um,
pricing around it, so that we can know what would take to actually get started up?
Sure. So CRM is obviously very important. Like, do not start your ads without CRM. I'm sorry I missed out on mentioning CRM, but yeah, please do not start if you don't have a CRM. You cannot rely on Excel sheets. We are way past that age now, and the CRM will make your life easier. So make sure you have a CRM. If you are very early, like you're early into it and you don't have a lot of money and probably you're not, VC funded, things like that, right? I would still recommend go for HubSpot. Like, opt for a free version if that's an issue. Just offer a free version. It will still have enough for you to utilize, right? You might not be able to create workflows and everything because HubSpot gets expensive, and you have to be VC funded to get those kind of discounts, like a 90% or 80% discount generally. But if you don't, and I would still recommend go for a HubSpot, because eventually later on when you reach that scale, shifting or migrating from one CRM to other is also a big headache, right? So it's better to stick to something. And we are, well, like, me and my team is very pro HubSpot, right? We love HubSpot, and it's user friendly, and I feel anybody very if you spend some time, you will easily be able to understand HubSpot, right? So that's a very strong CRM. Initially you can use for free, and you can get the leads data coming in.
Yeah.
HubSpot it automatically either detects the forms on your website, and that's a very simple process. It starts getting the leads into your CRM, or you can build forms also on HubSpot and push it live on your website, right? If at all is there is any concern, right? This is one. Second, I feel on the landing pages, you can, just to increase the engagement while the ads is happening, you can also have something like a chatbot, like a good chatbot. But also, this also depends on the kind of system, like the kind of SaaS you are, right? It also depends on that, right? So that is there. Third is Apollo, right? So I'm not sure how Apollo will assist here. But Apollo is a good tool for outreach, definitely, with respect to prospecting, enriching data, getting the information that you need to reach out to them. Apollo is a good tool. It's not very expensive. Also, I think it's somewhere around $100 a seat, and eventually you start getting discounts as well. So right now, for example, we get Apollo for about $20 a seat, right?
Got it.
So there is always a scope for,
That's
with
that.
respect to tools. You have your Black Friday sales and things like that happening all throughout the year, so you will always get a good
Yeah.
bargain if you
Got it.
feel the need of a product.
Got it. So just to pause here, I mean, I do have a couple of other questions going into the weeds and
Sure.
thing, but there are a couple of good questions which are also coming. One from Sahu, where he talks about he would differ with you on the broad match in initial months when you have to figure out which are the high intent buffer keywords and then start broad match. If you can answer that question, then we can also get to a question from Clark as well. Then we go. Yeah.
Sure. So a broad match, again, it can be a personal bias for sure, but my logic is very simple, right? If you want to see, I'm not saying that we don't need to figure out keywords when you start off. Of course, that's the reason I said, club the keywords. When you start figuring out the keywords that, and you're able to map the entire revenue per keyword, then you start moving to SKGs, right? Single keyword ad groups, and you start pushing, focusing, and scaling from that keyword. Initially, for the logic that, Sahu probably is giving, I use it with phrase match, right? I use phrase match. Phrase match still gives me uh, a broad spectrum of search queries coming in, so that I am able to identify which exact keyword is going to work out for me. But when it comes to broad, the logic is that, like, if you have a three word kind of a phrase that you put in broad, right? Any one word from that in the search query, if it matches, it will show your ad. So that makes it really I feel irrelevant, and that is something that we absolutely don't focus on. And phrase match works out really well. So the problem is that sometimes when you see 10 or 20 as search volume for keywords, when you use tools like SEMrush or a keyword planner, which is also something that I missed, right? These are also important. Like, keyword planner is free, and SEMrush obviously is a little expensive. I think 10,000-14,000 INR per month is what
Got it.
SEMrush charges. But when you see this and you feel that you need to go broad, I feel that that's where broad comes in. Use phrase. You will get a system, some keywords that are still relevant to you, and it will still be many more keywords, and will help you realize which exact keywords should be used.
Got it.
I hope
That's
that
great. Yeah,
answers.
of course. It broadly answers. Of course, we can have another discussion around with
Yeah.
Sahu as well. Clark has a question. Does conversion rate differ between demos versus signups if your products are self-serve?
Okay. It can definitely. But there is no factual information that I or anyone can give you on this, for sure. Like, there is no way of saying that demos will have a better conversion rate than signups. It again depends a lot on what kind of a product do you have and what kind of a journey you want your users to undergo. Right. I think it clearly depends on that. So if it is a self-serve kind of a journey that can be assisted, then obviously signups would work better than demos. If it is a large ticket value product, then you need them to sign up first, probably get a free trial, get a feel of the product before you get into a conversation with the sales team, right? So it completely depends on the use case to use
Yes, yes.
case.
So one interesting thing here is like sign up and demo. One other thing which companies do is they do two things. And I saw this since you mentioned Rocket Lane was an early customer and few others.
Yeah.
They used to have a calendar form first. So you have to book a time and then you fill up the form. Or
Yeah.
on other cases where like you can have a form, you fill in the form details and then you book the time.
Yeah.
What is preferred here? Which one for early stage startups and this thing?
I would say, for early stage specifically, I would say it's better to get their information first than to get them to book a demo. To book a call directly. I think there will be a lot more drop-offs happening because you do not have the credibility in the market as such as of now. I think it is more
Got it.
important for you to go on a conversation with them, which is obviously will happen through a call. But if at all, it can happen on emails or a LinkedIn where you have the information, at least the email ID is there with you. I think it can be utilized, and over a period of time, at least you'll be able to nurture. You'll get more people to do so compared to if you just ask them to book a call. There will be more drop-offs.
Got
And
it.
again, very clearly putting it out, I can be wrong on this. Again, as I mentioned, right, there is no playbook to marketing. It can differ for client to client for sure, right? And of course, there will be some reasons behind why something is
Yeah, yeah.
working and not. But yeah,
So more
just
than
putting it out
working or
there.
not, in some companies are like, let's find the time. If he's really keen, he'll find the time, or if he's
Yeah,
not keen, which is not there.
absolutely.
We
If it's
also,
okay for you,
yeah,
yeah,
we
please.
also encourage
Sorry.
self-attribution forms, like where did you hear about us, kind of
Yeah,
keywords. And why I'm calling this out is like we have seen cases where users have seen our ads, they come in direct, they say, I saw you on Google ad, I didn't want to
yeah.
waste your money by clicking on the Google ads. Do you encourage
Wow.
form fills that way? I mean, because this would actually add to the more forms. Because the reason why I'm asking is if there is like you have to get 200 visits to get 5 demos. Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry, Shri, I lost you there. Yeah.
I'm Yeah, no problem. So what I'm trying to understand is what is the form? Should be just email ID and some more information, or should we have 2, 3 layers into the form? I just want to, how does the form sign up actually change things, and how do we actually make it more easier and convertible? Because as a startup, I'm always worried, like, can I just capture the data, then I can even email them, I can personally outreach them over LinkedIn, because the founder will be looking at each and every form fill. Because at $3,000 and 10 demos for the whole month, the founder will anyways be on top of it. And so
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
want to
Agreed.
understand what would you think on this?
Agreed. So in this case, I would definitely consider step form, right? Which is take the email ID at least. Like probably on the homepage, just have an email ID. When once they fill it
Mhm.
up, then you redirect them to another page where you can have a detailed form. The more interested people will fill up that form as well, so that solves that problem. And people who will drop off, at least you have the email ID so that you can continue reaching out to them and make full use of it. So I think that is so. Generally, we do not recommend long forms, right? Because it's a very human, like it's a human psychology concept, right? The more effort you ask them to put, the more drop offs you will have, right? This is very
Yeah,
simple. So generally, at the early stage, specifically, until unless you are at a stage, right, where you are doing good, right, you're going really well, and you only want to talk to quality interested people. Your objective, the mindset of the company is to get is to just have drive sales rather than build a long term kind of a thing, because you've already done that. Then it makes sense, right? You can, so we worked with a client called Playment. That was a first client, right? So they had like a comparatively a longer form, and it worked out well for them. And for them, and for many other founders that I've seen, this is also something that comes from like a personal mindset, right? Sometimes, even if you give this logic, sometimes founders do not want to have short forms. They want that entire piece of information. Again, this is a mindset thing. If you are willing to drop off certain opportunities because you will lose some possible opportunities in on the go, because there will be drop offs, but you at least the conversion after the lead is created to the final conversion will be much more in this case. So it's a it's a balance that you have, like it's a something that you have to choose, right? Either you look for more conversions, but at the early stage I think it's more important to build that pipeline first and
then
then
that
focus on
pipeline first.
conversions. Yeah.
Got it. One thing which in this is like, yes, just to summarize around the stats, like you either do phrase match or at least have high intent keywords, spend
Yeah.
$2,500, gets 200 visits. Once you get to know who are there on the website, use something like factors.ai to identify which companies which are there. Have a CRM like HubSpot so that you know which companies are there. Second, of course, once you know which companies are coming to your website but not signing up, you can have a separate workflow on them. Either you can reach out to them over email or LinkedIn using Apollo,
Yeah.
or using any other HubSpot sequences, or even direct emails, personalized emails. Those things
Yeah.
work out. One other thing which we do also keep seeing is, and also more and more, even for an involved product, which is there is the product demo on the website. Do you advise that? Have you seen startups using it, or have you more measure it to more like advanced companies? The product
All right.
demo
So
tour, or
yeah. So product demo. Okay. So this is a new category actually, if you look at it, right? Product demos has been there for a very long time, of course. Like since these things existed, demos were there, right? But again, the point is, if you're able to give a personalized demo, that will be much better than a generic demo, right? So having a generic demo on the website could or could not work out in your favor, but I don't think it will have a very good impact, right? It could give you a sense of a feel, but I think at the end of the day, it will just be a video, right? If you can, and there are companies, and we work with one of these clients called Fable. They are into this segment itself, where they help create personalized demos, and you are able to create, basically able to create microsites for each of your users and have a personalized demo on that landing page for them on that microsite. I think that could really be a game changer. It is something, very honestly, we've not tried so far, but
no?
because it is something that is new, no, like comparatively new. It's a new category that has come into picture, so that is something that we've not tried, but definitely is something that we are eyeing in the coming months for sure for our clients.
Got it. So let's get to a little more deeper. If you can take an example, also it's better. More importantly, around ad copies, around in
Sure.
terms of like what kind of how do you write it? Make sure you don't get into the copyright violation. You can, how do you get taken down, or like someone sending you a notice or something like that? And also a little more on the landing pages and others. Like, do you use some testimonials? Do you use some G2 crowd reviews? If you can give some examples on it for just for early stage companies, then it will also be helpful. Yeah.
Sure thing, sure thing. So with respect to ad copies, firstly, right? So ad copies, again, it's a game of experimentation. There is no other way out, right? There is nothing that you can come in and you can write the most engaging or the best ad copy ever. It's never going to happen. It's always, it could happen. There's obviously probability obviously exists, but that's very rare, right? So your first thing is that you need to make sure that there is experimentation with respect to copies, and you do not shy away from that that. You need to put that effort, right? This means that initially, at least every 2 weeks, change the copy, right? See what's working, see what's not working. Based on that, like based on whatever insights you have, make sure you change it, right? Even though the concept of ad fatigue exists more on channels like a LinkedIn or a Meta, right? Even on Google Ad, I strongly recommend that every 2 weeks at least, you bring about a change in your messaging, in the copy itself, right? That is one. Second, with respect to the copyright issues, or the notice bit that you talk about, that generally happens with the competitor campaigns, right? So interestingly, we've been in frontline, because competitor campaigns is something we love. We suggest each and every of our client, and as you also mentioned, Shri, right, it should be probably the first step when you look at Google search ad, because there is highest intent possible, right? The user
Mhm.
that is searching for a competitor is way down the funnel, right? He understands problem, he understands the solution, vendors also. So that's a good way, right? Generally, what happens is we've not seen direct notice coming in. Copyright obviously happens. You cannot use branded keywords if the trademark is there. If the trademark is not there, go for it. Like, make sure you're using the keyword in the copy. Do not
Right.
shy away from using the keyword. What happens generally is at a personal level. Now, these notices or these so-called problems come in at a personal level, and now the founder of the competitor that you're running ads will reach out to your client, you as a founder will reach out to you, and he will probably say that this is not done. You will, and these are real examples I'm giving you. This has happened multiple times. And
Got it.
with us as agencies, we sit down and tell you there is nothing unethical about it, right? There is absolutely, like, what the best he can do and what Google provides is put a trademark on their keyword. He can do that, and even when he does that, or even for the competitors that have a trademark, right, there you can still write good ad copies, right? You do not really need to call out their name, right? So if even if at a personal level things like these have happened, and where we've not been able to convince our client, the founder, that we should keep doing it, let him say what he says, because it's a personal relationship also that he has to maintain, right? What we do is we change the ad copies, right? We stop using that keyword, right? Because you cannot own a word, right? You can
Mhm.
have a trademark because Google allows it. That is something that generally happens with respect to copyright. Otherwise, I don't see any issue. Obviously, basic things have to be there. You cannot make grammatical mistakes and things like that, right? We have to be very spot on. There are very limited characters any which way with search copies that are there. So your skill as a content writer, or as a copywriter for ads, right, with specifically with search ads, is much more challenging than comparing it with a LinkedIn or ad copy or a Meta ad copy, because you do not have a lot of bandwidth to say, right? You have to be very short, crisp, and at the same time you cannot be boring, right? You have to make sure that you
True.
stand out, because there will be 3 4 more people showing the ad on the same keyword or on the same competitor. So that's probably the challenging part on the ad copy front, right?
Got it.
Next, I think
Landing
you
pages.
mentioned about
Landing
landing
pages.
pages,
How do
right?
you use testimonials, or how do you use G2 Crowd? How do you make the landing page kind of like more credible? Because you are a startup, you're
Yeah,
spending
absolutely.
little. How do you make it more credible?
Absolutely. So, see, if you have logos, nothing like it. If you have testimonials, nothing like it, right? Obviously, this is very important, especially for the US audience, right? And that's why probably I mentioned it initially, right? If you have a product market fit, that's the right time to go, because then you have good amount of good testimonials and good logos to showcase, right? At an early stage, let's say you don't have a lot, but you have, let's say, 5 6 logos on board, right? Generally, the structure of the landing page looks like after the hero section, you have a strip. Either you talk about the logos, right, just the logos, right, or you have the G2 crowd, G2 reviews, or the Captera bits that are there. If you have both, then well and good. Start with logos. The G2 bit can come in later in the landing page, right? So this is important. Then you towards the probably the 60 65% stage of the landing page is where you should have your testimonials, right?
Got
Because
it.
these are interested people who have scrolled down till that, and now the idea is
Nice.
to give that absolute level of credibility that we've actually solved the problem, right? So that's when these testimonials come in. So I'll give you an interesting example with respect to testimonials, right? So we're working with this client called Payment, as I mentioned, right? We had a landing page, and they had a very good testimonial bar, right? So it was interactive also in a way, right? So what we did two things. Once we started doing campaigns and we realized that a lot of traffic was coming and engaging with the testimonial bar that is there, what we did is, they were not really early stage. They were way past ahead of that. But yeah, what we did is we brought the testimonial bar, the testimonial section towards the top. right? And secondly, what we did it so after the third testimonial, the fourth was not a testimonial but rather a form, right? So the
Hmm.
fourth bit, we had an email ID right there, so that because we saw a lot of engagement coming on the testimonials, right? So people were scrolling through the testimonials. So on the fourth, we again had a call to action, right? We could get email IDs right there, and it worked out. Right. So this is also important. So you can start off with the structure that I talked about is generally a structure that mostly everybody follows, right? Hero section, logos, G2 Captera, and then your approach and all those things. And probably with a competitor landing page, then you need to have everything needs to be about that, how you are better than
How
the
is this
competitor.
thing? How is
Everything,
this?
right, right,
God.
right. Right from the hero section till, that table which talks about, and they should not be vague points, right? It should be like absolute points, right? Why there should not be one person that will come out and say, no, this feature is exists in the competitor. You have to be very, very clear about what you are saying. It is important, of course. It holds the entire brand image. But yeah, these things are important. And then whatever headings you have, just change it according to the competitor that you're betting against, or with respect to the keywords for which you are running this particular campaign, for which this landing page is being used. So that entire intent has to be right from top to bottom.
So Surya has a question. How do you see Google going broad for all keyword match type?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand this bit. Google going broad for all match
All,
types.
maybe Surya can explain a little bit. One other thing, how much time do you need to do it? I know how. I mean, if you are doing $2,500 to $3,000, how long which you
Yeah.
need to see for you to see a repeatable sales motion coming in from your Google
Right.
Ads? What's
Okay. So a repeatable sales motion
hmm,
will obviously depend on your sales cycle as well, right?
hmm,
Because the realization of the revenue will happen over time according to your sales cycle. Let's consider that it's not a big sales cycle that you have. Probably in a week or 2 weeks you are able to close, right? In that case, generally, I'm sorry, we were talking about.
this thing?
Uh,
How long should the founder? I mean, so one most
yeah,
thing is the
yeah,
founder
yeah, yeah.
patience and this thing. Yeah.
Yes. So generally, 60 days is a good period, right? 60
So
days is a good period to get the initial traction, right? It will not be a lot, right? But you will get a fair understanding of whether it can work or not. This is what happens in 60 days. In 120 days, another 2 months, you will have probably at least 50-60% of predictability with respect to you'll have basically, in a very layman term, you'll have some winners, right? You will get to know certain aspects which are working well, and you can then start scaling it and continuously keep finding more winners, right? It will take time. Otherwise, like, overall getting that 100% predictability, which is probably not possible, but going towards that 100% will take time. But as a founder, as an early stage founder, I think the 60-day and 120-day milestone is very important.
right. So one thing which I've seen is like Google Ads works at every different scale, right? It starts from SaaS companies to all the way to something like Freshworks, which is
Yeah.
completely a huge part of their revenue is from Google Ads inbound, which is there. Another the thing, what keeps it going? How do you consistently keep leveling up in terms of your ad strategy? Or what are the other ancillary things which you need to keep doing, or what you need to? It's not something that you can just keep bidding on one keyword. And is it a continuous revenue machine, or do you need to keep changing? What do you need to? Where do you need to? How do you understand, like, okay, there is fatigue here, or there are things going wrong, and how do you get back?
Right. So generally with keywords, what we've observed, the life cycle is actually a little, it's longer than, any other ad channel. So for a very long time, you can stick to one keyword and multiple such single keywords and keep scaling and keep getting that same kind of, repeatability, right? But of course, there is a point that comes in where you start seeing something going wrong, right? And how you see it is basically, that entire funnel. Either your clicks drop, you have the audience insights kind of reports also on Google Ads, which show you if there are other competitors that are bidding on the same keyword, and if they start, like, the one easy way to look at it is, if the impression share for them keeps increasing, that's basically you going down and they picking up things on that particular keyword, right? Secondly, your the conversion on the landing pages drop, which generally you will not see. Generally, you will see yourself losing out on that keyword, either if someone else starts picking up, or if the category itself has seen some kind of a drastic change happening, right?
Got it.
Only then. So otherwise, I see. I think even with Freshworks, if you took the example that you took, I think they will still you will still find a lot of keywords that they've been bidding and getting good leads and conversions for a very long time, for
Got
sure,
it.
because that search demand, because that search, if that category exists, if the demand exists, right, the way of asking for that demand will not really change drastically until something external happens.
Got it. So one more thing, which is more like a last final question from my side, which
Sure.
is that is like you have worked with 60 plus clients.
Yeah.
Apart from Payment or more early stage startups and other things, can you name a few which had done their Google Ads strategy very well and it really moved them from something like seed to something like a Series A, Series B, Series C kind of a company?
Yeah, so Rocket Lane is a great example, and we were
Mhm.
only doing ads for them. We were not doing any others like ABM or anything else. We were not doing it. We were only doing ads. And very honestly speaking, what worked out was Google search. And what worked out in Google search was competitor campaigns, betting against the likes of Asana and Yellow, right? That's what built their channel. And this was right from that seed to Series A journey. That is one of the clients, right? Other than that, Gumlet is also one where ads have really worked well,
Yeah, nice.
and they have had a very steady kind of growth. And again, it's all got to do with the culture of the company as well. But it's been an amazing. It was our second client probably, and it's working out well. There are currently we have a client called Field Drive, for example, right? And it's not been a very long.
Yes.
Yeah. So Field Drive is Hubilo acquired Field Drive, right?
He will acquire.
Um, yeah, so it's not a SaaS company. It's a B2B company, very honestly, but Google Search is working wonders for them, and we have many more. And the pipeline, the kind of pipelines that we are able to build through ads is amazing. Like that sense of fulfillment does kick in with the entire team. So yeah, there have been
That's it.
I think many instances where this has
No,
happened.
actually, these are all good. The thing maybe we can go back and I think also even the viewers can go back and see their ad copies, search for their
Sure,
competitors, search this thing so that how their ad copies, landing pages work, so that they can derive insights for their own startups.
absolutely,
This is great.
absolutely.
Uh, yeah, we don't have any more questions, but it's been pretty amazing, Ishan, just to get started on Google search, right from the
Yeah,
saying that, okay, this is the amount you spend. These are the kind of expectations on clicks, visits. What are the other tool stack which you need to have, like something like GA, Factors.ai, HubSpot CRM, SEMrush, Ahrefs, and other the thing. How much do you spend, and then how do you reach out to these companies? What are the things which you need to? It's like pretty comprehensive in terms of how you went deep. At the same time, giving confidence to also early stage founders, because that's something which I found lacking when we also started up. It was like something like it was
yeah,
gently scary. Like how do you gently spend $3,000 without
yeah,
understanding what's going to happen? Sometimes you get in too early without your PMF. Sometimes you get in too late, and both
yeah,
times you get hurt. And
yeah,
it's thanks a lot for sharing these insights. And for everyone, Ishan works with 60 plus companies, hopefully 100 plus soon. Uh,
yeah.
Please
Hopefully.
connect with him for more insights, both on LinkedIn and elsewhere, to understand what Growth Spree can offer to you. That's it.
Thank you so much, Sri, for having me here. I hope I was able to, add value to everyone that was listening and everyone that will listen to this session. And
Yeah.
yeah, you can contact me anytime. More than happy to.
Yeah. And this is one of the first sessions on Google Search Ads and SaaS marketing. There are, of course, what do you do after Google Search Ads? What other channels? What other
Exactly.
things which you do, both from contenting, will be like the next set of sessions which we'll have as well. So thanks a lot, Ishan.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Sri. Thank you.
sure.
Bye bye.
Great. Bye.